dragged out. Congressman Dutch Ruppersberger is the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, and he joins us. Nice to see you, sir.
Good evening, Greta.
First, a question of whether this investigation, is it political or is this a fair, legitimate inquiry?
Well, I can only say from our committee, and we're the House Select Intelligence Committee, we deal with the classified information. We have to follow the facts. I know during the last couple of weeks there's been a lot of issues out there, a lot of media. Mr. and I made a decision not to be available until now so that we could follow the facts. We had a hearing today, that hearing in front of the entire committee where we had the Deputy Director of FBI, we had Director of National Intelligence Clapper, we had the head acting director, Mike Morrell of the CIA, and we had the State Department and Ambassador Kennedy. There were a lot of facts. We got timelines, and there was a video. And why the video was helpful was that we could see firsthand, real time, what the issues were when the first attack occurred. From that perspective, the first attack looked that it was more of a situation that it was chaotic. It didn't seem to be command and control. But we do know now that there were a lot of extremists, that there was al-Qaeda connections involved. The second attack, though, at the annex was a lot more serious. That seemed to have command and control. You had people that knew how to use weaponry. You knew that they were able to shoot mortars and have a direct hit. So we know now that was a serious situation.
I know you're going to get a lot of email because that's more serious when the ambassador died at the first one. You mean more serious, meaning that it was more organized? Would that be a better word?
I would say that the second attack was a lot more organized by the bad guys. The first attack, there was no question they were there. And we could see looting. We could see the people who didn't have weapons. We saw people that did have weapons. And then they set fire to the buildings. But the second attack was very well organized. There seemed to be command and control. And we know that there were al-Qaeda affiliates there. And we are investigating and making sure that we bring these individuals to justice. And we've identified a lot of the
except I'll tell you what's troubling. I mean, there's a number of things troubling. For one thing is that we know that on that videotape at some point the CIA identified a Tunisian man who was then tracked going to Turkey. He got stopped for having bad papers in the Turkish airport, turned over to Tunisia. That was sometime in September, and we got word the FBI couldn't talk to that man. The administration made no phone calls. The president made no phone calls. The Secretary of State made no phone calls. And about a South Carolina U.S. Senator, Lindsey Graham, made a phone call and a letter to the embassy and now got the FBI access. So there's a lot lacking in terms of seriousness of purpose in investigating this. You're a foreign prosecutor. I defended cases. The president should have made a call to the Tunisian embassy that day and made sure we had access to that guy right away.
Well, I don't disagree, but I don't know the facts that you're talking about. But I know that we have an aggressive investigation, and when you have people going to other countries, you have to go into those countries and work with those countries. You have to identify where those individuals are. And one of the key areas is to find the people who were responsible and bring them to justice.
Let me give you another example. Sure. I don't mean to put you in the hot spot, and Congress is different than Capitol Hill.
Sure.
But the FBI went over there, finally got into the consulate sometime about 2 weeks after the incident. 2 weeks after the incident, and no doubt the scene was contaminated. Probably had lots of, absolutely. That was in late September. On October 26th, not the FBI, but foreignpolicy.com, a journalism group went in there October 26th, and they found documents that the FBI just walked over and never picked up. So how do the American people feel any way secure that our FBI that have any sort of seriousness of purpose investigating this?
Well, the first thing, I have a lot of confidence in the FBI and the CIA, and I would still match our investigators and our CIA on an international basis with any other government that is out there.
Well, the other ones aren't good.
But
go ahead and match them, but they aren't any good.
Let's talk about the situation there. Libya was an open area. It reminded people of the Wild West. We had people still driving around in open cars with machine guns. So, it's a primitive area, and it's a difficult area. And after this attack occurred, we had to move our people out of there. Now, when the FBI got there, there's probably a lot of evidence that they didn't get, but there's a lot of evidence now that they have. And I have confidence that they are tremendous investigators and they will do the job. But there will always be mistakes.
All right, it's very hard. I mean, the fact that these four were killed, and I don't know if you know about this August 16th cable in which they predicted how they were going to die, and they talked that there are Islamic militias and al-Qaeda and training camps in the area, and they said we cannot defend against a coordinated attack. So on August 16th, they sent that cable to the State Department warning. The FBI, in terms of, I think that they have done a poor job of interviewing the Tunisian and gathering that documents. Then you've got the situation where the top top guy in our intelligence community, the CIA director. He's having an affair, and apparently the Attorney General doesn't think that's important enough to tell his boss, the President, when this man is supposed to be in charge of, of our intelligence, that's not important.
Okay, well, let me address that. The first thing, and I heard Secretary Bolton before, or Ambassador Bolton, talking about the fact of not giving information. We have to learn from our history. We knew that when Nixon and Watergate and the FBI were involved with Hoover, that it was political. So the policy is now, if it's a criminal investigation, it does not go to the administration. Now,
this was a national security investigation. I think it was a national security investigation.
The first thing, this started out as an investigation involving cyber harassment. That's how the investigation started. They didn't know who the players were. They didn't know about Petraeus when the investigation started. When the FBI started the investigation, they went to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Tampa, where this occurred, where the complaint did come from. Now, that's an issue with respect to the FBI. They're apolitical. I have a lot of confidence in the director of the FBI, Mueller, and they conduct their investigations. And I was an investigative prosecutor. They get the facts, they get the data, they do the interviews and those type of things. I can understand, though, from the public's point of view, that it looks political, and I can understand where people can think that. I can only deal with the facts and data that we have and the information that I have. And as far as I'm concerned, the deputy director came before our committee today. He said it was not political. They gave us a timeline on exactly how they're conducting the investigation, and the investigation is still going forward. Now, as far as
only day one. It really is only day one on Capitol Hill, pretty much.
And right, we were out, and now we're back in. And now that the chairman of the committee and I, as far as I'm sure Senator Feinstein and Senator Chambliss, were briefed over the process when we weren't in session, and now the entire committee got the information. And you talked about General Petraeus, a very sad situation, but it was a serious situation. And the fact that he did resign was important because of the fact
he got caught.
Well, wait, but let me say why I think it's important. It's not. He was a very competent, qualified person, and it's very upsetting for he and his family and his wife especially, what is going on. But it can't be about one individual. And if in fact he decided to stay, or the president would not have accepted his resignation, it's more about him, and this would have continued on, and not about the mission of the CIA, who I feel are as good as anybody in the world in what they do in getting information to protect our country.
Congressman Rupert, you know I love you. You're a friend of my husband's, and I hope you come back and we'll talk about this a lot. We got a lot more to talk about because it's going to be a long investigation.
I'm glad somebody loves us.
Anyway, thank you.
Take care.
And straight ahead, Republican lawmakers ripping into the Obama administration